The Galactic Peace Hall was quiet, but it was not the calm kind of quiet. It was the kind of silence that comes just before violence. The hall was enormous, built to hold hundreds of species from across the galaxy. The ceiling stretched high above, glowing with soft blue lights that showed moving star maps. Long banners of the Galactic Confederation hung from the walls, symbols of unity and peace. But today those symbols felt weak. Very weak. At the center of the hall stood a massive round table made of dark crystal and living metal. Around it sat the 6 representatives whose words could decide the fate of dozens of star systems. On one side of the table sat 3 species known for war. The Cattle sat first. Their bodies were covered in thick, hard shells like living armor. Their small black eyes never blinked, and their claws tapped slowly on the table, a sound that made others uncomfortable. Next to them sat the Garter. Tall, wide, and powerful, with massive claws that could crush steel. They did not sit still. Their claws opened and closed again and again, a clear sign of aggression. Beside them were the Critolo. Their bodies were covered in sharp horns and long spines. Even sitting quietly, they looked dangerous. One wrong move near them could mean death. On the other side of the table sat 3 species just as deadly. The Mabobo were first. They had large bodies and even larger mouths filled with long, sharp fangs. When they spoke, their words came out slow and heavy, like threats waiting to happen. Next to them sat the Clinari. Their skin was brightly colored and always wet, shining under the hall lights. Everyone knew their beauty was a warning. The Clinari were extremely toxic. Even touching them could kill. The last was the Tool, a massive species so large that special seating had been built just for them. Their heavy breathing echoed in the hall, reminding everyone of their strength. Around the hall, hundreds of other delegates watched from raised platforms. Members of the Galactic Confederation, neutral worlds, observers, traders, historians. All of them knew one truth. If peace failed here today, war would spread across the stars. The talks had already gone on for days, and they had failed. Voices rose again. You took systems that were never yours, the Maboba ambassador growled, showing his fangs. They were unclaimed, snapped the Catal representative. Your fleets arrived too late. The Garter slammed a claw on the table. The sound echoed through the hall. Say one more word, the Garter warned, and we end this here. The Clinari ambassador leaned back, their skin glowing brighter. We are not afraid of your threats. Energy crackled in the air as security fields strengthened around the table. Galactic guards shifted their weapons, nervous fingers near triggers. Several delegates in the audience quietly activated emergency beacons. Everyone could feel it. The breaking point was close. The Critolo ambassador lowered his horned head and spoke slowly. Our fleets are already in position. The Tool ambassador responded with a deep, rumbling sound. So are ours. This was no longer diplomacy. This was the final moment before war. The hall doors stood closed at the far end of the chamber. Tall, silent, unmoving. No one looked at them anymore. Everyone was focused on the table. On the anger. On the coming disaster. Then something changed. A soft sound echoed through the hall. Click. The massive doors began to open. At first no one noticed. The arguments continued. Threats were still being spoken. Then someone in the audience gasped. The sound spread like a wave. One by one voices stopped. Heads turned. Even the guards froze. A figure walked into the hall. It was small. Very small. Compared to the massive aliens at the table, the being looked fragile. It had no armor. No claws. No horns. No fangs. No glowing skin. No visible weapons. Just 2 arms. 2 legs. And calm, steady steps. The figure walked alone. No guards followed. No announcement was made. The being's face showed no fear. The delegates stared in silence as the figure moved across the polished floor, each step echoing loudly in the now silent hall. Whispers began. What species is that? Why are they here? Are they lost? Then someone recognized it. The Catal ambassador swallowed hard. That is, a human, he said quietly. The word moved through the hall like a cold wind. Human. The Garter stopped moving his claws. The Maboba closed his mouth. Even the Clinari's glowing skin dimmed slightly. The human continued walking toward the table, holding a thin stack of data pads under one arm. No fear. No hurry. No hesitation. The war that was seconds away from beginning suddenly paused. Not because of force, but because a human had entered the room. And no one knew why. The human kept walking. Each step echoed through the massive Galactic Peace Hall, loud enough to feel inside every mind present. No one spoke. No one moved. Hundreds of eyes followed the small figure as it crossed the open floor. The human looked ordinary. Too ordinary. Its clothing was simple, a smooth dark suit with no symbols of rank, no shining medals and no visible protection. It did not carry a weapon. There was no escort. No guards. No fleet announced its arrival. And yet no one tried to stop it. The guards of the Galactic Confederation stood frozen. Their training told them to block any unknown entry. Their instincts told them something else. Do not interfere. The human reached the negotiation table. Up close, the size difference was even more clear. The table itself rose to the human's chest. The alien ambassadors towered above it, some easily 5 times taller. The human placed the stack of data pads gently on the surface of the table. The sound was soft, but in the silence it sounded final. I propose these systems go to the Cadle, the human said calmly. The voice was steady, clear, and emotionless. And these systems go to the Maboba. The human tapped the top data pad once. That is all. No explanation followed. No threat. No demand. The human turned around and began walking back toward the doors. Gasps filled the hall. The entire exchange had lasted only seconds. The human did not wait for permission. Did not ask for agreement. Did not look back. The doors closed behind the human with a deep, echoing sound. For several long moments no one spoke. The war had been paused by a single sentence. The Cadle ambassador was the first to break the silence. I think, he said slowly, his voice shaking despite his armored body, that we should do what the humans suggested. The Maboba ambassador's head snapped toward him. What? He roared, fangs flashing. You agree with that creature? Murmurs exploded around the hall. The Clenari ambassador leaned forward, their wet skin shimmering with agitation. You cannot be serious. That being did not even explain itself. You did not read deeply enough, the Cadle ambassador replied. The garter clicked his massive claws. Explain. The Cadle took a slow breath. When we initiated contact with the Galactic Confederation, we were given files on all major species. Yes, said the Maboba ambassador. Including humans. Peaceful. Weak. Avoid conflict. The Clenari let out a sharp hiss. That is what the surface files say. The Critolo ambassador lifted his horned head. You must read beyond the surface. The hall grew quiet again. The humans are not peaceful because they are weak, the Critolo continued. They are peaceful because they do not need war to win. Several delegates shifted uneasily. Explain, demanded the Tool ambassador, his deep voice rumbling like distant thunder. The Critolo nodded slowly. Hundreds of cycles ago, pirates threatened the entire Confederation. A species that believed no others were truly alive. They destroyed worlds without hesitation. I remember, said a delegate from the audience. The Confederation could not stop them. The humans did, the Critolo said. The Maboba snorted. With fleets? Yes, replied the Critolo. But that was not the strange part. The strange part was this. Before every battle, the humans offered the pirates a chance to surrender. A low murmur spread through the hall. They offered peace, the Critolo continued, again and again. Every offer was refused. When the pirates were finally defeated, the humans did not destroy them. What did they do? Someone asked. They trapped them, said the Critolo. Confine them to their home world. Any ship that tries to leave is destroyed instantly. The pirates still live. Still imprisoned. Forever. The Clenari's glow dimmed further. That is mercy, said the Garter. No, said the Critolo. That is control. The Maboba ambassador leaned back slowly. So they are strong in war. Yes, said the Critolo. But war is not their favorite weapon. Another ambassador spoke from the audience. I remember the Famira Empire. The Tool shifted. The trade war. There was no war, the Critolo said. The humans simply refused to trade. And when the Famira tried to trade elsewhere, the humans appeared with better offers. For how long? Asked the Maboba. Nearly a century, replied the Critolo. The humans were willing to lose profit, just to win. Silence returned. The Cadle ambassador looked down at the data pad still resting on the table. The human did not threaten us, he said quietly. They never do. The Garter nodded slowly. They do not force. They present a path. And if you ignore it? The Clenari asked. The Critolo's horns tilted slightly forward. Then they find another way, he said. And that way is always worse. No one argued. Because every species in that hall now understood one thing. The human had not come to stop the war. The human had come to warn them. The hall did not return to noise. Instead, it filled with a different kind of silence. A thinking silence. The data pads lay untouched at the center of the table, yet every ambassador could feel their weight. No one rushed to read them. No one needed to. The presence of the humans still lingered in the room, like an echo that refused to fade. The Maboba ambassador finally broke the quiet. If humans are so powerful, he said slowly, why do they hide it? The Clenari ambassador leaned back, their glowing skin pulsing softly. Yes. Why send one unarmed being? Why not a fleet? Why not threats? The Garter clicked his claws once. Because fear is stronger when it is earned. Several heads turned toward him. The Critolo nodded. Humans do not arrive loudly. They arrive early. What does that mean? Asked a delegate from the audience. It means, the Critolo said, that when humans speak, events have already moved beyond stopping. A low murmur spread. The Catal ambassador looked uncomfortable. Our file said humans avoid conflict. They prefer diplomacy. They do, said the Critolo. But diplomacy is not weakness. It is preparation. The Tool ambassador shifted his massive body. Tell us more. Many here have only fragments of human history. The Critolo folded his spine slightly, a sign of respect. Then listen carefully. He paused. When humans first reached the stars, many species avoided them. Some feared them. Others tested them. The Clenari tilted their head. Tested how? With aggression, the Critolo replied. Small attacks. Border raids. Trade threats. And the humans? Asked the Maboba. They responded politely, said the Critolo. They requested meetings. Offered trade. Shared technology. Some delegates laughed quietly. Until the attacks did not stop, the Critolo continued. The laughter died. Humans did not react with anger. They reacted with patience. The Garter frowned. Patience can be dangerous. Yes, said the Critolo. And humans are very patient. The Critolo's voice lowered. There was a species called the Velcari. They believed humans were weak. Too kind. Too slow. The Velcari attacked a human colony world. A sharp intake of breath echoed from the audience. What happened? Someone whispered. The humans evacuated the civilians, said the Critolo. They did not retaliate. The Maboba snorted. Weak. That is what the Velcari thought, the Critolo agreed. Until human fleets arrived. The hall leaned in. They did not attack the Velcari homeworld, the Critolo said. They did not destroy cities. They did not kill civilians. Then what? The Clenari asked. They dismantled their military, said the Critolo. Ship by ship. Base by base. Supply line by supply line. How long? Asked the Tool. 7 human years, replied the Critolo. At the end, the Velcari had no weapons left. No fleet. No defenses. And then, the Maboba demanded. Then the humans left, said the Critolo. Confusion spread across faces. They left the Velcari alive, he continued. Independent. But powerless. The Garter clicked his claws slowly. A living lesson. Yes, said the Critolo. The Velcari still exist today. They have never attacked another species again. The Catal ambassador stared at the data pads. So humans do not destroy enemies. They reshape them. Correct, said the Critolo. The Clenari's glow dimmed even more. And this is why they fear humans? This is only part of it, the Critolo replied. A delegate from the outer systems raised a limb. I heard humans once ruled an empire. The room stilled. That is true, said the Critolo. Long ago humans conquered a large section of the galaxy. The Maboba's eyes widened. Then why do they not rule now? Because they chose not to, the Critolo answered. That caused more shock than any story of war. They ruled efficiently, the Critolo continued. Trade grew. Piracy ended. Borders stabilized. The galaxy prospered. Then why stop? The Clenari asked. Because, said the Critolo, humans became bored. Silence followed. They said ruling was easy, he continued. Too simple. Too predictable. They wanted something harder. The Tool ambassador let out a deep, uneasy sound. So they gave their empire away, said the Critolo. They formed the core of the Galactic Confederation and stepped back. The Maboba shook his head slowly. No species gives up power. Humans do, said the Critolo. That is why they are dangerous. The Catal ambassador finally picked up one of the data pads. If we ignore the human proposal, he said quietly, what happens? The The Critolo looked at him. Nothing, he said. The hall relaxed slightly. For a while, the Critolo added. The tension returned instantly. Humans do not rush, he said. They wait. They observe. And when they act, they do not fail. The Catal ambassador placed the data pad back on the table. I understand now, he said. The Maboba swallowed. So do I. The question was no longer whether humans were peaceful. The question was whether anyone was brave enough to test their patience. The ambassadors sat quietly, each lost in thought. The stories about humans had changed the feeling in the hall. Fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Respect. The Tool ambassador was the first to speak again. You have told us how humans fight, he said. Now tell us how they win without fighting. The Critolo inclined his horned head. Very well. He paused, choosing his words carefully. There was a conflict between two powerful species, he began. The Ventillo and the Ducapant. Several delegates nodded. They knew the names. That conflict had nearly torn a region of space apart. They hated each other, the Critolo continued. For generations, every peace talk failed. Every ceasefire collapsed. The Maboba leaned forward. And humans became involved? Yes, said the Critolo. They tried diplomacy first. The Clinari tilted their head. And it failed. It failed completely, the Critolo agreed. The Ventillo accused. The Ducapant threatened. Fleets gathered. The Garter clicked his claws. Sounds familiar. The Critolo's eyes narrowed slightly. Then humans did something no one expected. The hall leaned in. They placed their entire fleet between the two sides. A ripple of shock moved through the room. How many ships? Someone asked from the audience. More than anyone believed they had, the Critolo replied. Even after their wars and empires, humans had kept fleets hidden. The Tool ambassador's massive hands tightened. A blockade. Yes, said the Critolo. But not against one side. The Maboba frowned. Against both. Against war itself, the Critolo answered. The Garter let out a low sound of approval. The Ventillo tried to go around the human fleet, the Critolo said. So did the Ducapant. And? Asked the Clinari. The humans adjusted, the Critolo replied. They brought in merchant ships. Private vessels. Civilian fleets. Several delegates looked confused. They turned trade ships into barriers, he continued. They asked allies for help. Systems humans had once saved. Worlds humans had once traded with. The Catal ambassador's eyes widened. And they agreed? They did not hesitate, said the Critolo. Because humans had once done the same for them. The blockade grew. Every path to battle was closed. The Maboba leaned back slowly. So neither side could attack without firing on humans. Correct, said the Critolo. And neither side was willing to do that. The Clinari's glow flickered. What if they had? The Critolo's answer was calm. They did not want to find out. Silence followed. 4 weeks the fleets remained, the Critolo continued. No shots fired. No battles fought. What happened to the war? Asked the Tool. It died, said the Critolo. Slowly. Quietly. Without battles there were no victories. Without victories there was no pride. Without pride anger faded. The Ventillo and the Ducapant eventually returned to the negotiation table. Did humans force peace? The Maboba asked. No, said the Critolo. They simply made war impossible. The Garter nodded. That is more powerful than any weapon. The Critolo turned his gaze around the table. This is why humans frighten many species. They do not break laws, he continued. They do not violate treaties. They exploit patience, he added. The Clinari shuddered slightly. And economics? The Critolo nodded. Humans understand value. Not just money. Time. Stability. Reputation. He paused. When humans refuse to trade, it is not a punishment. It is a signal. A signal of what? Asked the Catal. That you are no longer trusted, said the Critolo. The Tool ambassador exhaled slowly. Trust is harder to rebuild than fleets. Yes, the Critolo agreed. The Maboba stared at the data pads again. The human did not threaten us. No, said the Critolo. They never do. They just remind you, said the Garter, that they exist. The hall felt smaller now. The audience watched in silence as the ambassadors slowly understood the truth. Humans did not stop wars by being stronger. They stopped wars by making violence the worst possible choice. The Catal ambassador finally spoke. If we reject the human proposal. The Critolo finished the sentence for him. They will not stop us. The room tensed. They will simply ensure, he continued, that we regret it. The Maboba closed his eyes for a brief moment. The war had not started yet, but it already felt lost. For a long time no one touched the data pads. They rested at the center of the table, simple and silent, yet more powerful than fleets. Every ambassador knew that whatever was written inside would change everything. Finally, the Cadal ambassador reached forward. His armored claw hovered over the pad for a moment, then pressed it. The surface lit up. A three-dimensional star map rose into the air above the table. Systems, planets, trade routes, and borders appeared in soft glowing light. The human plan had begun to speak. The map slowly shifted, highlighting a cluster of systems near the disputed region. Lines moved. Borders adjusted. Some systems changed color. The Maboba ambassador leaned closer. Those systems, he said slowly, they are resource-rich. Yes, said the Cadal ambassador. But unstable. The map zoomed in further. These, the Clinari added, are border worlds. Frequent pirate attacks. Low population. The Garter clicked his claws. A buffer zone. The Tool ambassador nodded. They reduced direct contact. No one said it out loud, but all of them understood. The human had not divided territory by strength. The human had divided risk. The map changed again. Trade routes appeared next. Some were removed. New ones formed, flowing like rivers of light between systems. The Critalo studied them carefully. These routes benefit both sides, he said. But only if peace holds. The Maboba narrowed his eyes. And if war begins? The routes dimmed. Several delegates inhaled sharply. The meaning was clear. War would not just cost lives. It would cost prosperity. The Clinari spoke quietly. The human did not threaten us, but this plan assumes cooperation. Yes, said the Critalo. Humans prefer outcomes where everyone believes they chose wisely. The Garter straightened. What about fleets? The map shifted again. Human symbols appeared. Not surrounding either side, but positioned far away. Watching. Waiting. The Tool ambassador felt a chill. Observers. No, said the Critalo. Witnesses. The Cadal ambassador swallowed. So if one side breaks the agreement. The Critalo finished softly. Everyone will know. Silence returned. The human plan was not enforced by weapons. It was enforced by consequences. The Maboba ambassador leaned back slowly. This is not a demand. No, said the Clinari. It is an offer designed so refusal hurts more than acceptance. The Cadal nodded. Classic human logic. The data pad displayed its final section. A simple message. This agreement requires no human involvement. That line unsettled the room more than anything else. They will not stay, the Garter said. They never do, replied the Critalo. The Maboba frowned. Why? Because, the Critalo said, if humans stay they become responsible. And if they leave? The Maboba asked. Then the choice is truly yours, said the Critalo. The Tool ambassador exhaled deeply. A fair plan. A dangerous one, said the Clinari. Yes, said the Cadal ambassador. Because now failure belongs only to us. The ambassadors looked at one another. No anger. No shouting. Only calculation. The human had not solved the conflict. They had removed every excuse to continue it. The Maboba ambassador tapped the table once. If we accept this plan, the war ends. The Garter nodded. If we reject it, the humans will remember. The Clinari shivered slightly. And they are very patient. The hall felt heavy. Outside the chamber, fleets waited. Weapons were charged. Orders were ready. All of it balanced on a simple decision. The Cadal ambassador looked around the table. The human did not stay to argue. He did not need to, said the Critalo. He trusted us, the Tool said. The Maboba's voice was quiet now. Or he trusted the outcome. The star map slowly faded as the data pad dimmed. The plan was clear. The solution was clean. The cost of ignoring it was unknown. That was the most frightening part. The Galactic Peace Hall felt smaller than before. Not because the walls had moved, but because every choice now had weight. The data pads were dark. The star map was gone. Only the memory of the human plan remained. Outside the hall, fleets waited. Inside, 6 ambassadors held the future in their hands. The Maboba ambassador was the first to stand. His massive body rose slowly, his long fangs visible but no longer threatening. We came here ready for war, he said. Our fleets are prepared. Our allies are committed. He paused and looked around the table. But war is not the same as victory. The garter clicked his claws softly. That is true. The Maboba turned to the Cadle. Your people have wronged ours. The Cadle did not deny it. And yours have done the same to us. The hall waited. Yet, the Maboba continued, the human solution does not reward either of us. The Clinari tilted their head. It does not punish either of you either. The Maboba nodded. Exactly. He exhaled deeply. It ends the conflict without declaring a winner. That was hard for warriors to accept. The garter rose next. My people respect strength, he said. We respect those who stand their ground. He tapped one claw against the table. But we also respect wisdom. The human plan is not weak. The Clinari's skin glowed faintly. It is cold. Logical. Unemotional. The Critolo nodded. Very human. A quiet sound passed through the audience, something close to nervous laughter. The Tool ambassador shifted forward. My species has seen many wars, he said. We know the cost. Even victory leaves scars. He looked toward the center of the table. This plan avoids scars. The Cadle ambassador stood last. His armored form was rigid, controlled. My people remember when humans first arrived in our space, he said. We were afraid. Several delegates nodded. They did not threaten us, he continued. They did not demand obedience. They offered trade, he said. They offered cooperation. The Maboba frowned. And if you refused? They left, said the Cadle. But when pirates attacked us years later, the humans returned. The hall grew quiet. They did not ask for payment, the Cadle said. They did not claim territory. They simply helped, he finished. The Clinari's glow softened. Humans choose their battles carefully. Yes, said the Cadle. And when they choose not to fight, it means something. Silence fell again. The decision hovered in the air. Accept the plan. Or reject it and face an unknown future. The Maboba ambassador slowly sat back down. My people will accept the human proposal. A ripple of reaction moved through the hall. The garter clicked his claws once. So will mine. The Clinari hesitated, then nodded. We agree. The Tool ambassador spoke last. We support the decision. All eyes turned to the Cadle. The Cadle ambassador closed his eyes for a brief moment. Then he spoke. We accept. The hall released a breath it did not know it was holding. Security fields powered down slightly. Guards relaxed their stances. Across the galaxy, fleets received new orders. Stand down. The war that was moments away vanished without a single shot fired. The Maboba ambassador looked at the empty space where the human had stood earlier. The human trusted us to choose wisely. The garter nodded. And we did. The Critolo's voice was calm. Do not misunderstand. Humans did not force peace. They made war unnecessary, said the Tool. The Cadle ambassador lowered himself back into his seat. The most dangerous thing about humans, he said quietly, is that they give you a choice. The audience began to disperse. Delegates spoke in low voices. Historians recorded the moment. Another war avoided. Another lesson learned. But somewhere beyond the hall, far from the cheering and relief, a human ship quietly changed course. The human had already moved on. The Galactic Peace Hall slowly emptied. Ambassadors returned to their ships. Delegates sent reports to their home worlds. News of the decision spread across the stars within hours. A war had ended before it began. Many praised the wisdom of the council. Few spoke about the human. Inside a smaller chamber connected to the hall, several ambassadors remained behind. They did not need to stay. They chose to. The Maboba ambassador broke the quiet. The human left without celebration. The garter clicked his claws. Without reward. The Clinari's skin glowed softly. Without even confirmation that we accepted. The Critolo nodded. That is the human way. The Tool ambassador leaned forward. There is something I still do not understand. The others looked at him. If humans are so powerful, the Tool continued, why do they not rule this part of the galaxy? The question lingered. The Cadle ambassador answered. They already did. Silence followed. Long ago, he said, humans built an empire. Not by fear but by efficiency. Trade was stable. Borders were safe. Pirates disappeared. Systems prospered. They controlled vast space, the Cadle continued. They could have kept it forever. The Maboba frowned. But they did not. No, said the Cadle. They gave it away. The Clinari shook their heads slightly. No species does that. Humans do, replied the Cadle. The Critolo added, they said ruling was too easy. The Garter's claws froze. Too easy? Yes, said the Critolo. They wanted something harder. The Tool Ambassador let out a slow breath. And what is harder than ruling? The Cadle looked toward the stars displayed on the distant wall. Restraint. The room was quiet. Humans learned something early, the Cadle said. Power is not proven by how much you take. It is proven by how much you can walk away from. The Maboba lowered his head slightly. And still be obeyed. Yes, said the Critolo. That is the frightening part. Far from the Peace Hall, a small human ship moved through open space. Inside, the human diplomat sat alone. No medals. No escort. Only a quiet report sent back to Earth. Outcome favorable. Conflict avoided. No intervention required. The message ended there. On Earth, no celebrations followed. No headlines screamed victory. The report was archived, reviewed, and placed among thousands like it. Just another day. Back at the Galactic Peace Hall, the ambassadors prepared to leave. The Garter spoke softly. Do you think the humans are watching us now? The Clinari considered the question. Always. The Maboba looked thoughtful. And if we break the agreement? The Critolo answered calmly. Then the humans will return. In fleets? Asked the Tool. No, said the Critolo. In consequences. The Cadle ambassador stood. Humans do not seek control. They seek balance, he said. And when balance breaks? The Maboba asked. The Cadle's answer was simple. They fix it. The final lights dimmed in the Peace Hall. The banners of the Confederation hung still. Peace held. Not because of fear. Not because of force. But because one small, unarmed species had walked into a room full of monsters. And every one of them chose to listen.